Have you ever looked at the world and felt a deep, unsettling sense of confusion? A feeling that the pieces don't quite fit? It's a profound disorientation that can strike at any moment. Watching the evening news, walking through a bustling city, or in a moment of quiet reflection. We are surrounded by contradictions that are difficult, if not impossible, to reconcile.
We see so much beauty. It's in the grand, breathtaking vistas of the natural world, in the intricate genius of art and music, in the simple, unscripted joy of a child at play.
We see so much kindness. It's in the selfless acts of strangers, the patient guidance of a mentor, the unwavering support of a community coming together to lift up its most vulnerable members. These moments affirm a fundamental goodness in the human spirit.
But we also see so much pain, not just in the dramatic headlines, but in the quiet, private suffering that unfolds behind closed doors. The ache of loneliness, the weight of loss, the slow erosion of hope. We see conflict that seems to have no end. We see wars that rage for generations, passing down trauma like a dark inheritance. And often, when we dig beneath the surface of these enduring conflicts, searching for the root cause, we find something surprising, something that seems to defy its very purpose. We find God, we find religion, we find systems of belief that are, for billions, the ultimate source of meaning, morality, and comfort. This raises a difficult, almost paradoxical question. How can something that is meant to bring peace, to connect humanity to a higher purpose, so often bring so much division? How can faiths that speak of universal love become justifications for exclusion and hatred? It is a question that echoes through the halls of history and whispers in our hearts today, a question that challenges the very core of what it means to believe. Let's think about the three great monotheistic faiths, often called the Abrahamic religions. Judaism, the oldest of the three, with a story stretching back millennia, built on a covenant between God and a people. Christianity, born from within Judaism, spreading across the globe with a message of salvation and divine love embodied in a single figure. And Islam, which arose centuries later, presenting itself as the final, complete revelation in the same prophetic tradition. All three traditions look to the same sky, to the same transcendent reality. They speak of one God, a single, indivisible source of all creation and all goodness. They share prophets. Figures like Moses and Jesus are revered in Islam, just as Abraham is in Christianity. They share stories of revelation and divine law, foundational narratives that have shaped civilizations. The God of Abraham is a central figure for billions, a shared patriarch for these vast spiritual families. He is the common ancestor, the starting point from which these three great rivers of faith begin to flow. So, if the foundation is shared, why does the house seem so divided against itself? Why are we not united in this shared belief, but instead fractured into 1,000 competing pieces, each claiming exclusive ownership of the truth? The paradox is striking, and it deepens the more we look. Believers from these faiths often describe their God as a God of mercy, the one who forgives, the one who offers endless chances for redemption. Believers from these faiths often describe their God as a God of compassion, who feels the suffering of the world and calls on followers to alleviate it. Believers from these faiths often describe their God as a God of justice, who commands fairness and equity and stands with the oppressed against the oppressor. Their holy books are filled with verses that call for care for the vulnerable, the orphan, the widow, the stranger in the land. They teach forgiveness, not as an easy option, but as a difficult, necessary spiritual practice. They teach humility, the recognition of one's own limitations before the vastness of the divine. They teach that all human beings are created by this one God and are therefore bound together in a single family, each person worthy of dignity and respect. Yet the history books tell a different, bloodier story. Crusades, inquisitions, jihads, pogroms. These words are not just historical terms. They represent epochs of unimaginable violence carried out in the name of God. They tell of conflicts where people killed their neighbors, people they had lived beside for generations, convinced they were doing God's will, purifying the world, or defending their faith. This isn't just an academic debate or a theological puzzle to be solved in a university library. This is a question with devastating, real-world consequences. It affects how nations interact, creating alliances and enmities that span centuries. It shapes borders and defines enemies. It influences politics and fuels violence that we see on our screens every single day, often without fully understanding the ancient resentments that lie beneath. When we ask why followers of the same God are in constant battle, we are not just talking about ideas or doctrines. We are talking about human lives. We are talking about displacement, suffering, and the loss of potential. We are talking about the world our children will inherit, and whether it will be one defined by walls or by bridges. So, let's begin this conversation, not with the arrogance of having all the answers, but with the humility of seeking to understand. Let's ask the hard questions and seek honest answers, not to lay blame or to score points, but to explore the complex relationship between faith, identity, and conflict. Let's begin this journey of inquiry together. In every conflict, in every war, there is a group of people who never asked for the fight. They are the ones who pay the highest price. They are the innocent. They are the families forced to flee their homes, leaving everything they have ever known behind. They become refugees. They become statistics. Their lives are shattered not by their own actions, but by the convictions of others who claim to be acting in the name of God. Their suffering is the true cost of our endless disputes. We often hear people say they are spiritually advanced or enlightened. We claim to have a deeper connection to the divine, a better understanding of the truth. But what does this enlightenment look like in practice? Does it look like endless revenge? Does it look like a cycle of violence where one act of aggression is met with another, and another, and another? If our spirituality leads us to judge others based on their race, their religion, the color of their skin, is it truly spiritual? True enlightenment should lead to compassion, not contempt. It should build bridges, not walls. The constant judgment we see is a poison. It seeps into our communities and turns neighbors into strangers and strangers into enemies. We create categories. We say us versus them, Christian, Muslim, Jew, believer, infidel. We use these words to create distance, to make it easier to dismiss their humanity, to ignore their pain, and ultimately, to justify violence against them. This habit of judgment is the opposite of the empathy that every great religion claims to teach. So we must ask ourselves a very serious question. Can we ever truly accept one another? Is it possible to look at someone from a different faith, with different customs, different beliefs, and see not a threat, but a fellow human being? Can we see a reflection of the same divine spark that we believe exists within ourselves? Acceptance does not mean we must abandon our own beliefs. It means we must make space for the beliefs of others. It means we must decide that our shared humanity is more important than the doctrines that divide us. Without this fundamental acceptance, peace will always remain a distant dream. So yeah, that's the hard truth. If our religions are truly based on love, forgiveness, and acceptance, then we are faced with a profound and deeply unsettling question. These are not just abstract ideals. They are presented as divine commands, the very bedrock of a moral life. They call us to see the divine in the face of the other, to offer compassion without condition, and to build bridges where there are divides. Yet, when we hold these principles up to the light of human history, and even our present day, we find a serious contradiction to resolve. The gap between what we profess to believe and how we have so often acted is a chasm that runs through the centuries. These are beautiful words. They are powerful concepts that have inspired countless acts of charity, self-sacrifice, and goodness throughout history. They have built hospitals, fed the hungry, and motivated movements for justice and equality. But when we look at the grand sweep of that same history, we see something else running alongside them, a darker, more violent current that has often co-opted the very language of faith. We see war, invasion, conquest, destruction. We see crusades and inquisitions, jihads and pogroms. We see empires built and cities destroyed, cultures erased and peoples displaced, all justified by a particular interpretation of God's will. An interpretation that conveniently aligns with the ambitions of emperors, kings, and generals. How can we reconcile the message of love with the reality of war? How can the same wellspring produce such life-giving water and such bitter poison? The core teachings seem so clear, so unambiguous. Love your neighbor as yourself. Whoever kills a soul, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. What is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. Turn the other cheek. These principles are found, in one form or another, at the very heart of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They are not hidden or obscure. They are not footnotes in complex theological treatises. They are central pillars of the faith, repeated by prophets and sages, intended to be the primary guide for human conduct. Yet, it seems we have become experts at ignoring them, reinterpreting them, or creating elaborate justifications to bypass them when it is convenient. We have allowed politics, the pursuit of power, the allure of national and tribal identity, to overshadow the most basic and profound commands of our spiritual traditions. The call to love God has been twisted into a mandate to hate those who worship differently.
This phenomenon is what we might call theological inversion. It's a process where the core ethical tenets of a religion are pushed to the periphery, and secondary, often more militant or tribal aspects, are brought to the center. This happens when religion becomes fused with political or ethnic identity. The primary goal is no longer spiritual salvation or ethical living, but the preservation and dominance of the group. Love your neighbor becomes love your neighbor as long as they are one of us. And the definition of us becomes dangerously narrow.
This isn't just a problem of the past, a relic of a more brutal age. Today, in the 21st century, we are still trapped in the same cycles, armed with more sophisticated rhetoric and far deadlier technology. We see nations invoking God to justify their military campaigns. We see extremist groups committing horrific acts of violence in the name of their faith. We see political leaders using religious rhetoric to divide and conquer, to stir up fear and hatred of the other for their own gain. The weapons have become more advanced, the destruction more widespread, but the underlying dynamic remains tragically familiar. The justification is the same. God is on our side. Therefore, our cause is righteous, and our violence is sanctified. The beautiful teachings of peace are drowned out by the drums of war, the chants of nationalism, and the carefully crafted speeches of those who benefit from conflict. So how can we truly live in peace? How do we reclaim the soul of our faiths from the grip of political expediency? This is the ultimate question, the challenge of our time. It is not enough to simply wish for it. It is not enough to point fingers and blame others. We must embark on a difficult, collective journey of understanding. We have to look at how our shared roots branched into different, often conflicting roads. We need to examine with unflinching honesty how history, power, and politics have corrupted our most sacred religious ideals. And most difficult of all, we must confront the very human tendencies toward fear, tribalism, and the desire for revenge that live within all of us. These are the fertile soil in which the seeds of holy war are planted. Only by walking this path, with honesty and courage, can we hope to find a way forward. A way to live together, not in a world without differences, but in a world where our differences do not demand violence. This is the path we must walk if we are to truly honor our one God, not with the clamor of endless war, but with the quiet dignity of a lasting peace. To understand the deep and often troubled relationship between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, we must travel back in time. Our journey begins not in a palace or a battlefield, but at the very source, in the stark, silent beauty of the ancient desert sands. Here, nearly 4,000 years ago, we meet a figure of immense, almost unimaginable importance. He is a nomad, a wanderer, a man whose story will echo through millennia and shape the spiritual lives of billions. His name is Abraham, or as he is known in the Quran, Ibrahim. For Jews, Christians, and Muslims, three distinct faiths that together account for more than half of humanity. He is the patriarch, the common ancestor, the spiritual father. His life marks the starting point of a shared narrative, a single story that would eventually branch into three of the world's most influential religions. But what made this one man so pivotal? Abraham's legacy is rooted in a single, revolutionary act of consciousness. He is revered as the first to truly embrace the idea of a single, indivisible, all-powerful God. This was a radical departure from the world he inhabited. His was an era of polytheism, a world teeming with idols and pagan deities, where every city, every river, and every force of nature had its own god to be appeased.
The shift from polytheism to monotheism is arguably one of the most significant intellectual and spiritual revolutions in human history. It wasn't just about reducing the number of gods from many to one, it was a fundamental reordering of the cosmos. It proposed that the universe wasn't a chaotic arena of competing divine forces, but the purposeful creation of a single, transcendent intelligence. This idea changed everything about how we understand morality, history, and our own place in the universe.
This revolutionary act of faith, this profound insight, is the very bedrock upon which all three religions are built. They are, in the most profound sense, the children of Abraham. This shared ancestry is not a minor historical footnote. It is the fundamental root from which three great branches of faith have grown. Each branch has developed its own unique leaves, flowers, and fruit, yet they all draw nourishment from the same ancient source. It is a profound foundational connection that is too often obscured by centuries of conflict, misunderstanding, and political strife. In our focus on the differences that divide, we have forgotten the common ground on which we all stand. This common origin story is a powerful and often ignored symbol of potential unity. It suggests that these faiths are not alien to one another, but are instead part of the same extended spiritual family, born from the very same quest for divine truth. The God who called to Abraham, asking him to leave his home and journey to a new land in an act of supreme faith, is the same God worshipped in synagogues, churches, and mosques across the globe today. The prayers may be in Hebrew, Latin, or Arabic, but they are directed toward the same singular divinity that Abraham first recognized. The story of his unwavering trust, his willingness to make the ultimate sacrifice, and his covenant with the divine, these narratives resonate powerfully through the sacred scriptures of all three traditions. He is a central figure in the Torah, revered in the Christian Bible, and honored as a major prophet in the Islamic Quran. In each faith, he is held up as the model of perfect faith, a human being who dared to have a direct and personal relationship with the one true God, trusting in a promise he could not yet see.
When we use the term Abrahamic religions, we are making a specific theological and historical claim. We are acknowledging this shared heritage. We are saying that despite profound differences in law, ritual, and theology, differences that have led to wars, they all trace their spiritual lineage back to the same patriarch and his foundational encounter with God. This isn't to erase the differences, but to place them in their proper context, as developments within a single overarching family of faiths.
Imagine a family that has grown and spread across the world over many generations. The descendants might now have different customs, speak different languages, and live in vastly different houses. They may have even forgotten they are related. But they all share a common ancestor. They all have a piece of the same origin story running through their veins, a shared memory encoded in their most sacred texts. This is the fundamental relationship between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They are different interpretations, different expressions of one original transformative encounter with the divine. This shared father figure, Abraham, represents more than just a historical link. He embodies a universal human search for meaning, a yearning for connection with something greater than ourselves. His story is not just about one man, but about humanity's collective journey toward understanding the nature of God and our place in the universe. He left behind the world he knew, his family, his culture, his gods, in pursuit of a divine promise. In the same way, all three faiths see themselves as being on a journey, a pilgrimage through life, following a path they believe was laid out by God. Recognizing and truly understanding this shared starting point is the essential first step. Only then can we begin to explore the crucial question of why their paths, though originating from the very same place, eventually diverged so dramatically, leading to the complex and often conflicted world we know today. This common root is where our story must begin.